All right, g'day, Rich Rogers and the other two people that are watching this. This is, I almost called it Drawing the Owl. This is Flight of the Owl, episode 4, the final episode. I look, honestly, I was going to introduce everyone, but if you're not actually caught up on who people are, you're gonna hate this episode anyway. So we'll just roll from here. All right. So what we've been talking about is where we wanted to end up, and I think it's going to be a play to find out thing. I don't think anyone's got a real anchor. I don't think anyone wants to see anything particularly. Oh, we do need a theme song or like intro music, don't we? True, Stephen. Lou plays the guitar. We'll get him to do it. So what I want to do is I really want to start off with this scene. So at the end of, or during last session, we saw Lady Blackbird saw like this carved relief of a younger Uriah Flint as like a display piece on this pirate bar on Haven. And what I'd like to see is like the memory that takes her back to. The way we're going to do this one is, Lou, you're going to be Lady Blackbird. This is just an idea too, so feel free to speak up on this if you don't dig it. Lou, you're going to be Lady Blackbird.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you talk, you interject as Lady Blackbird, like you assert your narrative authority over the scene.
Mm-hmm.
The person that's controlling Cyrus is going to change. Not Cyrus, sorry, Uriah is going to change. So it'll basically round robin around the table. I'll start us off. I'll like dress the scene a bit. And then I'll have you like take over, and then when it's kind of time for someone else to step in, it'll be someone else.
Okay.
And that way Uriah is like our shared character. Does that feel good to everyone? Does everyone
That sounds fun.
Cool. Fuck, this feels good. I don't know how it's going to work though. All right. So the wooden relief of Uriah Flint is of him at a younger age, a successful pirate. And I think we see him as he's like hanging as a pirate would off the windowsill of one of the Blackbird Manor houses.
Yes, this is just what I pictured.
And he's like, he's hanging out the window in like this big Peter Pan way. And the windows open, the Blackbird drapes are like blowing out into the night air, and he dressed in cutlass and pistol, looking every inch the like teenage pirate king that he is. He like reaches his hand in and draws you out into the cold Elysium night air. And again, like always, I'm not like beholden to strict chronology here. Lou, if you want to jump us ahead to a certain time and place in this date that he takes you, please do.
I think I just do need to add something to the scene, and it's and Lady Blackbird isn't aware of this, but I think we need to see Naomi like being like dragged off a garden path by like some other, like by a pirate goon with like a tranquilizer dart in her neck or something like that, like through the
taken out of the picture.
Yeah. Okay, what am I gonna? I don't think I'm ready to say anything yet. I feel this is a bit I feel this is a little bit like the what's that phase called in
the perilous phase. This does feel like a
perilous phase. And if you guys haven't played Swords Without Master, pretty much somebody keeps going until you feel the need like to intervene. Sort of thing, or to contribute. Does that sound fair to you?
Yeah, no. If you want to do that, I totally love that. So we'll all just like pass it between us, pass it off to the next person. So Tomes, considering you're up in the middle of the night, why don't you take over?
So we just saw Naomi being dragged off, and we've got Uriah out there in this holy stance. Um,
The wind blowing through his flouncy pirate shirt.
yeah. Where exactly is Our Lady?
I think she's on the balcony, like, some sort of semicircular balcony, like looking out over the gardens and stuff. Yeah. And I guess she's been drawn out maybe through the like doors onto the balcony or onto the edge of the balcony.
And I think like we haven't really seen him. Have we seen him talk throughout this entire thing? No,
not really.
right?
No.
Yeah, and
I hope his voice breaks like a teenager.
Oh, 100%, right? I think that's the very first thing that happens, is this suave look, and he even with all this stuff, he even has I don't know if it's characteristically or whatever, he's got like a saber, attached to his waist, and he's got a little bit of that like peach fuzz, is what we call it here, right?
Yeah.
So growing on his lips.
We call it bum fluff. Yes.
That sounds very appropriate. I'm gonna be able to continue through bum fluff. And he turns and says, "Lady, I've been waiting this entire time for you." And he stops there, and he's looking at you, trying to look very manly. Is he pulling it off?
I think she's slightly taken aback, because last time she saw him, he was so debonair across the balcony at the opera, and then there was that whole thing where he was this super powerful fire mage, and I guess she built him up in her head to be like something perhaps bigger than he was. So I don't think he's pulling it off. What does she? I think she's just saying, how long have you been out here on the balcony?
Are we moving, or do I have
I was
this?
going to say, throw it off someone terms. If no one steps up, you throw it off. Steven seems keen to do awkward teen romance.
Yeah, so I think, kind of building on that, so she's kind of looking at him with this uncertainty and whatever, and he's tapping his foot, and he thinks back, and like, we're going to flash back 5 minutes to him getting to the balcony in the first place. And so I think we see him walking up in this like loose flowing pirate shirt, and it's this very majestic scene with the moon hanging overhead, and he's got his goons like flanking him as he walks up, and he just like angles straight toward the balcony. One of them like veers off without a word and goes and takes care of Naomi, and then he turns and very like imperiously says, "Wait here." And the other one like stops in this like little copse of trees kind of, and turns his back to the scene. And Uriah keeps going. And as soon as Uriah knows that his men aren't looking at him anymore, he like starts to dishevel his hair and like unties it in the back so it'll flow in the wind a little bit more. And he unbuttons 2 of his buttons on his like loose pirate blouse so that it like rips open a little bit more in the chest. And he like pulls out this stuff, this like little vial of goo, and like dabs it across his chest a little bit so that it has this hideous reek. And then he like very oddly clumsily like climbs up onto the balcony, like slipping several times in these like loose cavalier boots that really are not made for climbing up balconies and whatnot, and gets to the top. And by the time he gets to the top, he's like a sweating, nervous mess.
So that's how we suddenly see him now with a like a layer of cold sweat on him.
Yeah. Like I think so. What I'm trying to get across is like, although he may be a badass, violent pirate, he probably hasn't had a lot of amorous encounters, and he's trying to do it right. So I think I'll pass off from there. That's what I got.
I want to set her to say one thing to you as you you pass off, like after she says that asks how long you've been out here for. She's like Naomi will be stalking the grounds around here somewhere. We better be careful.
We took care of her, milady. We have all the time we need.
And Ellen, what do we see next?
I like the idea that we go even further back in time again. So it's during the day, on that same day, Uriah has been brought to the grounds because is he a captain at this stage as a teenager, or is he like the son of a captain? Or
I imagine him. Yeah, I kind of imagined even perhaps some sort of hereditary, like pirate kingdom or something.
Yeah. Okay. So Uriah's been sent to the Blackbirds as part of a diplomatic mission. They have the best contacts for some golden clockwork pieces. And so Uriah's been sent there to negotiate with the Blackbirds. And as he is
everyone else could see that.
That's going right on the gauntlet.
Jesus! Who has kids?
That was creepy and cute at the same time.
100% creepy, Rosie! Anyway, woo! So, as I was saying, so there's a really boring political meeting. So they're in a wing of the Blackbird Manor. There's, ministers, and there's different representatives of the Blackbird household. And Uriah's just sitting there, and he's talking about this product, and he's trying to get a good price, and all these officials are boring the bejesus out of him. He's leaning back on his chair, his feet are kicked up on the table, he's smoking a pipe, he does what he wants. And then out through he's just bored with this whole conversation, so he just starts staring out to the garden, where he sees a glorious young Lady Blackbird strolling through the garden with the sun in her hair, and she picks a rose and smells it, and he just falls off his chair. And from collecting himself, and he just abruptly cancels the discussion. So he just agrees to whatever the last thing that was said. Picks up his pirate hat and very clumsily makes his way outside, and he tries to locate the lady.
Can we see him? Like, I think maybe young lady Blackbird takes pity on him. She can see the cold sweat on him, and he's fumbling his words, and she's like, "Here, come sit with me." And can we see him like almost miss the chair when he like?
Yes, he totally like he's like, oh yeah, what? And then he just like slips because he's trying really hard to sit like as far away from her on the chair as he can, but he can't take his eyes off her, so he ends up just like trying to sit down and there's no chair there.
Like falls on his ass.
Yeah. What's your name?
I think she'll sit down on the ground. With him. But I think she's like at this point, and maybe we'll pass it on at I think she's like he's like, you haven't hurt Naomi, have you? You said you dealt with her. What have you? I will be very displeased if I find that you've been heavy-handed with her, as will she.
Ari, do you want to take on from here?
Yeah, sure. Can I jump to a totally different moment in their life?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they share this sort of magical bond, and they're sitting across from each other with a sort of a book of spells, and they're reading it together. And Uriah is he knows that she has this sort of storm blood in her pumping through her veins, and he has the same. This is sort of the thing that brought them together. And at this moment, they're sitting under the open sky, and he begins to concentrate, and he can feel the wind pick up. And as their energies start to move back and forth, he says to her, can you feel the wind? Can you feel the wind? I feel it inside of me. I felt it since the first time we met. Mine is blowing from the north. Yours is blowing from the south. And the sky starts to darken. And he's trying to impress her with these dark clouds forming on the horizon. And then she's kind of fighting him back. And as he's and the sky is getting darker, he kind of leans in a little bit and puckers his lips and closes his eyes, and he's hoping that maybe this first magical moment is going to bring them together. And he doesn't know that her power is actually quite strong, and she summons a bolt of lightning at that moment, and it strikes the ground between them, and he jumps back with his eyes wide open. I didn't know you could do that. I thought you're just starting.
Can I flavor something that you've like? Can I flavor a little bit of what you said, like, and fork off a tiny bit in a like?
Sure.
I really like
Blackbird by all means.
Yeah. Because I really captured my imagination. Because you said this is happening in a future moment, and I actually totally pictured this. It could even be, let's say what you said, just like, so this is happening in the moment now within this interaction. Is that what you were
I'm thinking it's a little bit after the balcony scene, maybe like
cool.
a month or two, maybe.
Yeah, okay. I think I really want to see at that same moment then. because I really like this. They're sitting together at that moment, and we see a far future scene of them together. They're like in their 30s or something. It's like jumped right into the future, and it's that similar thing. Like there's the kind of swirl of magic. I think they're on a ship, but we can't tell what ship it is, and we see that kind of swirl of fire. That swirl of fire and storm kind of magic. Yeah, and I think I think it would be cool to see her say something. Maybe they're talking about that day. I think she's like, oh, Uriah, do you remember our first kiss? Do you remember when you tried to charm me with your flames?
I do. Didn't exactly work the way I intended, but did bring us closer together, didn't it?
And then I think you see she laughs, and then I think we flash back to this moment where he's just said, like, I didn't know you could do that. And she does the kind of the same laugh. And then I think she leans in slowly and, whatever, soaring swings. We see them have their first kiss.
So, well, I was going to interject one here, Lou, that I really like, which is as they come back, we kind of get like a look of recognition across their eyes as if they have not seen the future, but they can like feel those same scenes that we've seen.
Totally.
That they can see that in each other's eyes, the time that they'll spend together.
Yeah, they can kind of feel those past and future like threads. Like,
yeah,
like in that moment, like it's some sort of like it's a fulcrum or something.
And I think like as the Lady Blackbird leans in for the kiss, and as Cyrus like leans in as well, there's this like deafening sound of thunder, or there's a deafening like explosion. There's a boom that echoes across this
across all of time,
and yeah, like across, just like echoes across where they are, and then and that is like where that scene ends, right as they're like shocked out of this pre-kiss moment.
Yeah, we did it.
And I'd love us to go into our normal like opening credits thing. The only thing I'm going to ask for you this time, because I think it's going to fit more, is like we've been doing like these really big like action-packed tones with like huge scenes and punching captains and all this sort of stuff. This is going to be like the closer of the season, so like you can bring it down if you want, and like make it a bit more somber if you're keen to, or whatever. And I think it opens with like the owl taking off from an unknown planet and moving slowly into space, into the wild blue. And as it travels, like it's not zooming or soaring or doing anything like that. It almost looks like it's just hanging there and the universe is moving around it. Why don't we go reverse order? So Ari.
Are we all back on the owl, or these are just cuts?
Well, this is just going to be the cuts.
Okay. You see Kale and Kerbin, the goblin, from where we last left off. And she's standing next to him, and together they're reforging the electro rapier. And she's pointing at where the two sundered pieces of the blade are meeting and kind of holding them together, and he's hammering it. And she says to him, you know, this blade used to represent something very important to me. This was a symbol of admission to the academy, but now I see it as a token of membership in the crew of the Owl. And she puts her hand on his shoulder. And I hope you'll stay with me. I don't think you've had a good life on this planet. I think we might have a spot for you on the Owl.
Ellen, do you want to pick up with your cuts for Snuggle?
So the cut is the camera's following Snuggle behind as she's walking down the corridors, and she walks into her little den on the Owl. She takes off her pilot's goggles, hangs them up, takes off her jacket, hangs it up, pulls out this really old beat up suitcase, picks up her blanket with all the images of her family that everyone had created for her, crams that in there, finds a half-eaten packet of rat's legs, crams that in the bag, shuts the case, looks around the room, sheds a tear.
Oh, Snuggles. Stephen, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I think we flashed to that. What was it? The pirate bar?
Yeah.
Okay, so we flashed to the pirate bar, and you just you see a close up of Naomi's eyes as she sits at the table eating this this native dish that looks a bit like it might have come from the innards of a squid in one way, shape, or form. But she's eating she's got this native dish spread in front of her, this fragrant, fried native dish. And she's just looking across and watching Lady Blackbird, who is, sort of looking up at the statue of Uriah Flint. And Naomi is just watching, both to make sure that she's safe and also to, think about her relationship. And you see all this flash across her eyes. And then Naomi just reaches over and rubs her sleeve where that silk is tied around her arm, and looks down, and she sees this this beadwork image of a little girl with purple skin and black hair, and then it cuts away.
Oh man, it's adorable. Cyrus/James, you want to take up?
Yeah, I think we actually see a close-up. It's a close-up of a hand holding a short blade, right? It's that imperial blade, and there's blood on it, right? On the not gratuitously, but there's some blood on the shaft of the blade. And then the camera pans up and we see the hand kind of holding it, and it's shaking a little bit, and then it kind of goes up the arm, and we see the jacket, and there's definitely a close shot of where the captain's pin was, but it's not there, right? And then we go and right near it, as we pan a little bit further, we see the heart, the chest of of this body, and there's a fist, which is the other hand, and we see it looks like blood. It's probably blood, I guess, kind of coming out from in between the fingers, and then it kind of pans up to the face, which is looking down, and then we see the eyes look up and straight into the camera, right? And they look kind of vulnerable, right?
Awesome. And Lady Blackbird.
We see I think we see the camera kind of we're cutting back into the Owl being like out in space again. Like I think and with the camera kind of zooms in through the porthole like it did previously, like when we kind of first started. And I think we see Lady Blackbird back at her writing desk in her chamber again. And she's writing a letter, and I think we see that kind of like calligraphy, like style writing. It's probably in some kind of language that we can't, understand because we're in a galaxy a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away or something like that. But we hear the voiceover as she's writing the letter, and I think she's how does it go? I think it's like, "Dear Naomi, I've been thinking a lot lately, and I've seen you change since we've been aboard the ship, and I can see that there's probably a different life for you out here than there ever was with me back on well, my home planet. I think I will soon be leaving this ship, and probably when you're reading this, I'd say that I'll be gone. But I just wanted you to know that I've been realizing lately that you've always been more of a, well, you've taught me so much, and you've been more of a mother to me than my own mother was, certainly. And I just wanted you to know that I did recognize that, even if I have been a spoiled brat for most of the time you've known me. I hope you find the freedom that you're looking for out here, Lady Blackbird.
That's adorable. So Snargle, your litter. Let's follow you into the slums of the like shipless goblin housing, the free goblin housing, and let's meet your litter.
So we follow Snuggle as she walks barefoot in this yellow cotton type dress that hangs loosely over her humped back, and she walks from their airport parking through the edges of the city and out along dirt road, and then she comes across this shanty town. So the first thing you notice from the distance is a hodgepodge of structures, and you can see the heat radiating off the roof. And as you get closer, you notice the dense smell of those that live, breed, and do everything there. And as Snargle gets closer, you see goblins wearing all kinds of rags and simple clothes, and they're all happy and smiling, and there's kids running around throwing things at each other and hitting each other with sticks, and then there's like some kids building things, and there's, you know, mama and papa goblins like sitting around having chats or like doing regular everyday stuff. There's swarms of these people, and these little shanty structures are so tightly packed together. They're like, imagine just two bits of iron with a slanty bit of iron over the top, and then you can see, yes, total District 9. That's what I'm going, Joburg. And one of the kids that is playing Let's Hit Each Other with the Sticks looks up and like, oh, Grandma Snargle? Is that you? Oh my God! Runs up, and about like 4 or 5 other like really young goblins run up and jump all over and pull her dress and like talk to her a million miles an hour, and then in one fast swoop they all dissipate throughout the village, and Snargle keeps plodding along, snaking her way through the maze of shanties, and then as she's getting deeper and deeper into this shanty town, she you see that all these other goblins that have striking resemblance to her come from amongst the woodwork. Most of them have at least some patch of their clothing crocheted, and within a couple of minutes, she's surrounded by a horde of goblins, varying ages, and then an old grandpa goblin comes hobbling up on it with a cane that's got a crocheted cover to it, comes over and is like, "Oh, my darling," and gives her a big gross kiss on the cheek.
Kale, can you take us through your entry into these goblin slums and like what they how they look different to you than they do to Snargle?
Well, Kale is pretty used to being around Snargle, so the actual goblins morphology is not going to throw her off, but maybe the environment that they're in is surprising. She's used to seeing the inside of the owl as sort of this sort of fixer-up type thing, but most of the places she's been in, out in cities and urban places, doesn't really look like that. But this goblin community looks like what it would be if you took the owl's architecture interior and made it into living spaces and she might even recognize some of the buildings are put together in a similar fashion. And in fact, where Snargle maybe calls her home, whichever one of these that might be, might actually have bits of yarn around it that she had put in previously when she was keeping it together. So that immediately catches Kale's eye, and she starts walking towards that one. And next to her is Kerbin, who she's keeping watch over. Since she saw Kerbin getting kicked around, she's been very careful and making sure no one comes near him. So yeah, if Kale sees Snargle, she's going to walk directly over to her.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I do have a question. Is it possible, and maybe this question is for Snargle, is Kerbin one of your litter?
He's got.
I don't know that.
He's got to be, right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe more like her maybe fifth litter, so probably doesn't know him that well, but knows, that he's come from her.
Yeah. And I think I see the. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and Kerbin, like as you see Snargle, and like there's that interaction between you as you recognize each other, and Kerbin sees Snargle and doesn't get that same interaction. He's like looking around and he tugs on the side of Kale's clothes and directs her to look over behind one of the shanties, and there's like a small, like very young goblin has built out of bits and pieces that they've collected from somewhere their own ship, like this hull of a ship that they play in, and it's like a cubby house, and Kerbin tugs on it on Kale's clothes and says, like points to the ship, and he says, that there, that's what Ashman wants.
Ashman wants to take away your dreams. That's what he wants.
I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but yeah.
Fucking guy. I think Kale recognizes that this handiwork looks strikingly similar to Snoggles. And maybe even at this moment kind of looks over at Kerbin and maybe sees in his eyes the family resemblance to Snargle. And she just nods her head and says, when's the last time you saw your mother? Somebody want to play Kerbin?
Well, I was gonna say, so Kerbin's, I think it's like a half shrug, and Kerbin's just like, it's not. Families are much more important than just like direct matrial lineage.
It's everyone here.
Yeah, like I don't really know my mother, but that doesn't feel important to me.
But that ship means a lot to you, doesn't it?
And there's like three little goblin kids like climbing all over it and swinging through it and laughing, and like one of them transforms its like stretches its arm out into this like sloppy simulacrum of like a turret, and it's and one of them's on the back that is like has two of its arms in this like uneven version of a propeller, and they're like spinning them round, and yeah, you just like see the smile fall across Kerbin's face.
I think Kale's going to join in and play with these goblins a bit, and show them like bits and parts, and say, yeah, you got that right. That's perfect right there. But the engine should be a little bit further back, and she doesn't like fix it for them, but kind of just tells them and sees what they do with it, and then kind of leans over to Kerbin and says, would you like to see a real ship, Kerbin? One that can actually fly?
I think I think Kevin just kind of shrugs, and he's like, anyone can see a ship. They're all down at the docks. What we want is is our ship, is my ship.
And is this the first step for getting your own ship?
No, I think that this is just like something the kids have made that they play with. I don't think this is like intending to be functional. I think they've just like made it with stuff that they've stolen. And
that's not what we're thinking.
Hold on, let me get into chat here. I didn't see Steven's last one. Oh my god. All right, yeah.
You don't have to go with that weird mythology.
This is phenomenal. Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah, no, but this would be reminiscent of like the Goblin shipyards on other planets, on like Elysium or on Olympia or something like that. And this is the Haven version of the Goblin shipyards, where it's just like stuff they've pulled together. Yeah. The thing that the ship they make out of here will probably never be anything special, but it will be theirs.
Yeah.
And specifically, it will belong to like one of these young goblins, like the one that's pretending to be the captain, ordering around the other ones.
Yeah,
I'm totally getting a Snargle as a child, like flashback building, like something that's now part of the Owl. Like,
oh yeah, that's cool.
I kind of like the idea that in the flashback we see that, Snargle is maybe the same age as these children, but like the ship is much more sophisticated. Do you know what I mean? Not like built, but like you can tell, like, there's some ships that, kind of become a thing, and then there's some ships, and you can already get that sense.
Yeah,
right?
so this would be like on the shipyards of like Olympia or Elysium or something, probably Olympia, right? Where like everything's got really high quality stuff, and it's like a goblin child playground where there's perfect, like excellent quality metal everywhere, and there's big tri-valve reciprocal steam drives laying around, and like Snuggle like running through them and stacking bits on top of each other and knitting things, and it's like
we see like as little young Snargle is like collecting all these bits that she's got loaded up. She starts pulling them together, and then you recognize that the steering wheel that she creates on that very first day is the same steering wheel that she drives.
Yeah, spot on. And I think like Kerbin looks up at you and looks at the ship, and he's like, I don't know, man. Like, Ashman wants it, and if he doesn't get it, he's going to be really angry at me and you. And
don't worry about me.
He sees like the kids playing, and he's like kind of crushed that he's got to choose between his own health and this little goblin's happiness.
Listen, Kerbin, you don't have to choose between Ashman and these kids. Maybe I can help. What would you say if, well, tell me this, Kerbin. What is it that Ashman's doing for you that's missing from your life?
Well, he lets me like play with all the like. It lets me dig through all the equipment that he has, and I get to like diagnose the ships, which is pretty great. Get to sniff all their grease and oil. Yeah.
Well, what if I were able to get all that stuff for you, and your friends and family here get to keep this ship? And you wouldn't have to go back to Ashman anymore, and he wouldn't be kicking any more goblins.
I like getting to play in his stuff. I like getting to go through. He has pretty good equipment. I like going through it.
What's his best piece of equipment?
He describes to you this. It's like a plate of like hyper dense metal, and buried into it are just a bunch of dials and a bunch of knobs, and the knobs adjust the dials, but not in any like discernible pattern. Just when you twist them, one changes, and that just like gives him this little smile.
Okay, I'll make a deal with you, Kerbin. If I get you that, will you quit working for Ashman?
He says, "Well, if I've got that, we could use that all day." I actually, and like he looks over at the ship that the kid's playing on. He's like, "It'd make a pretty good addition to that ship too."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds like a deal. Time check. All right, what if we take a 5 now? Come on back, and when we come back, because I want to prep people up for things. Let's see what I've got on my wishes here from last week. Ooh, cool. When we come back, I think we'll check Naomi in the pirate. Yes, Naomi in the pirate bar, I reckon. All right. See you guys in 5 minutes. So 41. Catch you then. Hey, Tums.
What's up?
Not much. Just worried about this game not being anymore.
Oh, I know.
I'm worried it's going to be like not. I don't know. There's a lot of pressure on this last step, man.
You know what? I think there is, but at the same time, I think the way you started it. I guess this is what my advice to you is: focus on the game like you did in the beginning, where it was like, the way we did the cutscenes and how we took it down. Like, just feel that for the whole episode. Not to say that if you don't have an idea, roll with it, but I think that's a great way of taking the pressure off of yourself. And also, like, I think some of that pressure is like maybe feeling like this game was so, big in some episodes and some places and whatever. You feel like it needs to be big here, but it only needs to be what we want it to be, right? And I think we're doing what we want to have happen with the game, right? So if there's a certain sense of like, I don't give a shit what the audience out there wants to see here. It's kind of what we want to see here, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I mean, I guess I felt a certain amount of pressure just because, the game has been so good so far and all the characters are so good and you're aware that it's the last session and whatnot. But I agree, like, with what everyone's saying, there's no need to tie everything off at the end. It doesn't need to be, this dramatic closing of a movie. To me, I think the most satisfying experience would be if it was just like, okay, and these characters went off and had a dozen other adventures, doing other things. And, this is just the lead up to that, them all going off maybe in different directions, but them all going off and doing a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, I don't feel any pressure to like tie everything up in some giant dramatic bow. I just want to see what happens with the characters.
Even if that's all dying together in a giant fireball.
Yeah. Since we had that like long discussion about death yesterday on the Slack.
Right.
And I was like, I wonder if these guys all think I want to like kill Naomi off randomly, like, oh, they have some minor confrontations with the pilot and Naomi gets shot and is dead. Sorry, you're done.
Deaths. All right. Well, let's kick back into it because we're all here and we got a lot to do. So, Naomi, in this pirate bar, it's kind of like a bustling, like outdoor, beer garden-y kind of thing. And we mentioned that like Haven is very naturalistically green in some places, not like the artificial green of Olympia, but like the browns and oranges and greens that come of deciduous plants and flowers like scattered throughout this thing, and it gives it like this real vibe that this bar has just been put here, that someone's just like thrown a bar up and some tables and chairs and been like, yeah, whatever. And as we see like Lady Blackbird looking at this relief of Uriah and having her memories of their first time that we saw earlier, one of the pirates comes up to you, Naomi, and he like, is your tattoo visible? Is your like Blackbird brand visible at this point?
No.
Cool. I think he comes up to you and like he puts an empty this like big empty ceramic mug in your hand, and he drops a couple of coins into the mug, and you hear them like tink as they fall through. And he says, just say him again, thanks, love. And then like turns and walks back to his chair.
Okay. Now, has Naomi ever seen this individual before?
I don't think so. Unless you have an extensive history with pirates. You do have the Sky Pirate tag.
No. Okay, so I think she looks in this mug and examines the coins and like kind of swirls them around a couple times and is still completely lost to the significance of these things. So she stands up and she like casts an eye over to make sure Lady Blackbird's okay because she's still watching her a bit. And then she sits down in front of this pirate where this pirate's gone back to, puts the mug in front of him and says, where I come from, giving money to a woman in this way is disrespectful. Why have you handed me this? And
he says, what you don't work here? He says, it's that's weird. Usually when the slaves make it to Haven, they give themselves some good honest work here at the bar. And he I think he pushes the mug back towards you with the back of his hand, and he says, what is it? Your first day out of shackles, hun?
She looks down at the mug for a bit, and then she pushes it back toward him and says, maybe.
He picks up the mug and slams it down on the table in front of you and says, well, get me a fucking drink or you'll be going back in them.
She looks down really thoughtfully, like she's completely nonplussed by the fact that he just made this violent gesture. She looks down for a moment at the mug, and then she looks back over her shoulder at Lady Blackbird, and she just nods kind of imperceptibly.
I think
he turns around and just decks the guy, lays him out on the ground.
Okay, I want to add one thing before that, which is I think that you see Lady Blackbird starting to walk inside towards the bar, so she's getting further away from you. So the kind of point is that you're more than welcome to deck this guy, but as you get tied up with him, Lady Blackbird's getting further away from you. Does that change your approach at all?
No, that actually makes it much better. I like that. So yeah, she turns around and sees Lady Blackbird walking away, and then she just sort of nods, she gets the sense of peace over, and then she turns around and just puts the guy out, eliminates his face more or less.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. This guy would be a challenge -1. My question is, would you like to get some dice involved for you to fight this entire bar?
No,
everyone
actually,
in here?
I think that would be cool, but before that happens, I think I think she lays this guy out.
Yeah.
And stands up and grabs the mug and kind of just, calmly kneels down beside him and turns his face toward her, which is, spewing blood from the nose and whatnot. And she says, thank you. You've helped me with a very difficult decision. And I think while she's doing this, everyone in the bar is just completely shocked and watching her.
Yep.
And I think as soon as she says that, she looks up and it's the spell is broken and this massive bar brawl breaks out. As all these pirates, all that guy's crew just jump at her all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then there's this, massive bar fight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my fave. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Let's see some dice for this, because I think there's some interesting complications that can come out of it, or some interesting escalations that can come out of it. So have you got the link to the roll for your party there?
Yeah, I do. So I'm going to go...
And I think for you, fighting this whole bar is probably going to be probably... How big do we think this bar is? A 4 or a 5?
Yeah, why not make it a 5?
I feel like a 5. I feel like you're fighting pretty much every pirate on this planet at once.
Okay. Yeah, so it's definitely going to be pit fighter. So that's 2. Combat tested, brutal, living weapon, fast and hard. I think they all apply probably. And then I'll throw in the 1 die pool I have. So that gives me an 8 total. So 5's going to be difficult, but I feel like I can do it.
Lou, I assume you're not going to help us, Lady Blackbird, here?
I guess she hears it now, but I think she's probably just going to watch from the doorway, because she assumes Naomi can handle this shit.
That's really good. I like it.
Yeah, are the dice pool refreshed?
Yeah, you guys refresh scened over the break.
Okay, then I'm going to add a couple of my other die pools. So I had 8 with the 1. I'm gonna add a total of. I'm gonna add a total of 3. So that'll give me
11.
10.
Looking for 5. Is that right?
10 dice.
10.
10 looking for 5. Yeah. Sorry, math. Okay, is it DF or DH? I always forget.
DH.
DH. Okay. And we got to go purple. Yes. Oh,
All
actually,
right.
I got 5. Okay.
I was gonna say you didn't even roll enough.
I hit the wrong number. I hit 8 instead of 10. That's fine.
Nice.
I got
You
5.
still killed it. That's awesome. Do you want to give us like a couple of the shots from this fight of Naomi versus probably what is like 40 or 50 pirates?
Yeah, sure. So I see this like almost like a comic book. Like the initial scene is like Naomi looking up from this moment of transcendence, and like just all these like individuals like in mid leap coming toward her with various like blunt objects and whatnot drawn. And then there's just like a montage of shots where like you see like a fist going, you know, into a face and like knocking the jaw out to the side, and you see like a foot hitting someone in the chest and them saying oof really loud, and you know, you see this like montage of her just like throwing pirates into one another, taking a brief break to like take a sip of ale off the table while she's punching a pirate in the face with the other hand, then using that that mug of ale to like bash another one on the head. And at the end, I think like they're just pirates laid out all across the floor, and she lifts that initial pirate up in the air, the first one that started all this in the first place. She lifts him up in the air by his collar, like off the ground, grabs that mug that he had put on her, shoves it into his chest, and says, "You've given me a thirst. I think I need a drink, don't you?"
It's just like the gurgling of blood coming up as he's trying to like speak and stumbles through it.
And then I think the closing scene is Naomi like sitting at that same table, looking like happily kind of off into the sky as she contemplates her future, and she's drinking ale out of that same mug while they're all just like passed out on the floor around her.
Just like
I
carpeting.
think I can imagine Lady Blackbird walking up like a few minutes later and just sitting down next to her, like at the bar.
Awesome. I was actually thinking, so Lady Blackbird, when you walk into the bar, you see a giant like oil painting of Uriah Flint, and in
like
his
Uriah
arms,
Flint here.
yeah. No, they do. He's a pirate king, and it's a pirate bar. And in his arms is a woman in like a long flowing white dress, and she's like damsel in distressy, like laying off his arms, and he has like the one arm around the waist and one arm up across her chest in this like big heroic rescuing pose.
Probably destroy it instantly with magic.
What's that look like?
Probably like probably a pretty Emperor Palpatine. Like I think it's a sudden like rage, right? She's just like, what the fuck? She's gonna be like, and the whole, I think that it's just gonna fall to the ground. Then she'll go and sit next to Naomi at the bar.
The what's left of like the frame is on fire.
It's just like,
yeah.
Now I have a
on
question.
some pirates. Yeah.
So like we see all that happen, and Uriah Flint is not the only pirate king. He's a pirate king.
Or
maybe he's
we
the
haven't
pirate
We haven't
don't
mentioned any other Pirate Kings. I was pretty happy with him being the, but I'm happy to go.
Which is fine if he's the Pirate King. But like we see this huge frame and all this drama happens. I'm just curious, like as she leaves the frame and heads back toward the bar, are there other pictures with other pirate lords that also have the exact same woman in their arms?
Oh my god!
Like, is she just a stock person, or is it like?
No.
Okay.
I don't think we want to answer that. Like, yes, that's absolutely a possibility that it's like an artist rendition of a scene, but I don't think we want to give that truth out yet. Either way, yeah. And you're right, Stephen. Pirate Princess. We should definitely have had one.
I think maybe also perhaps just to add some flavor, I think, and seeing as Lady Blackbird's so entitled, I think she probably walks around behind the bar. I guess any staff here are cowering away, and she'll like bring some, a bottle of wine or something and pour Naomi and herself like both a wine.
All right, Cyrus. Last time we saw you had just given up the. Is that correct? That was the last time we saw you. You'd just given up.
Yeah, that was that scene, right?
Yeah. Where do you go next? What do you do next?
I think we see an exact continuation of that scene, right? So like we're actually seeing Cyrus close that hatch, right? That led down to Snargle's little nook. And we see him walk over to the captain's like berth, the captain chamber, right? And he almost looks a little weary. Like we see him sit down on the bed and kind of like slumped over, like nobody else is in the ship, right? It seems kind of quiet. And there's a little bit of a sigh. But then we see he rolls up his pant legs up to like halfway up to his knees. And he takes off his boots and his socks and puts them on like a chair to the side of the bed. And he starts to get rid of some things. Like he takes off the larger kind of like worked, captain jacket type thing that he's been wearing, or whatever jacket he's been wearing the whole time, which looks kind of like a bulky with pockets and things. And he's just wearing like a like a shirt, just a very simple kind of like t-shirt thing. It's, got even short sleeves and that kind of thing. And just before he leaves the room, he actually, they make a point of picking up, this Imperial blade and kind of like the belt with, weapons and things, right? And he leaves that on the bed as well. In fact, we see it in his hand, and then we see him walking out of the ship, and then there's kind of like this shot of all that stuff on the bed, right? So he's kind of like left himself disarmed, and he's leaving the ship, right? And he's walking down into the Goblin town, and like he's barefoot. He's got like his pants rolled up and a t-shirt on, almost like as close to a goblin as he can look, right? Because like, he's
still pretty far off.
Yeah, totally, right? Like you see this big, bulky human guy walking down the street, and there's all these goblins running around, but at least he's got like,
and they're like trying to like sniff and lick at the oil that's on your your pants, and yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. And he's walking along, and we see a little flower growing on, amongst like the rubble, right? Like on the side of, like all this garbage and whatever. And he picks up this little flower, and we see him talking with this little goblin, kid, right? And then there's a shot of him holding the goblin kid's hand and like walking down some, through the village, right? So hand in hand with this little goblin child, right? I mean, and it's like you can see the hands go straight up diagonally, right? Because he's big, and there's like this little thing. And in fact, maybe the goblin arm is like stretched longer, right? And they're wandering, and there's like a couple of frames. It's all quiet, right? Like there's no dialogue this whole time. And then there's a whole bunch of frames with him walking in different parts of the goblin town with this little kid kind of leading the way, right? Like leading him. And And then we see Snargle's house, like her hut, right? Or it looks like her hut, right? And we see him turn to the kid and lean down, like down on his knees, wade close to the kid on the ground, and like gives the little child this flower, you know, and she kind of like runs off a little and looks back, and then she like eats it or something, right? Like she doesn't even, and we see Cyrus walk toward the hut and just kind of like knock on the door. I almost want to say like that's where the scene ends. I don't know.
No, that's really strong. I kept thinking about like things to interject in there. I was like, no, that was awesome. It's so good. It's so good, and I can't wait to see more of it. Snuggle. Kale has a plan, as Kale always does, to get this like local trader Ashman off the backs of a couple of your youngest, probably grandchildren or children, or some of your youngest kin. But it's risky, and there is a very safe way to keep everyone happy, or to keep Ashman happy, but it means taking this ship, or big parts of the ship, away from the youngest. I guess my question is, when Kale like presents this plan to you, what do you think?
So, Snargle is sitting on this half-rotted old stool out the front of her shack. She's sitting there crocheting away, like part of her litter is hanging out by her feet. Some of the older parts are like cooking by a small fire outside of the hut. Kid, you said what? What do you want to do?
I'm not letting Ashman have that ship. He's taken enough away from this community. I'm not even going to tell you what he did to your youngest when I was in his warehouse.
Why do you want to do this? What's it to you?
What does the owl mean to you?
What kind of a question is that? The owl is me. Like,
What do you think this ship means to your kids?
Yeah, but you do know where we are, right? This is the closest these kids are ever going to get to freedom. And you know how much that guy that you want to screw over, you know how much of this town he actually runs? So you want to you want to come in here, act like the big hero, save the day, all the kids love you, but then what happens when you walk away? When you go on to the next town?
I'm not planning on walking away this time.
So you're going to set up your own little shack here? Is that what you got in mind? Or are you going to just rescue one or two of them so you can walk away feeling like a hero?
No, I don't think I'm going to walk away from this one at all. I think I'm done stealing. I think I'm going to trade him something he can't refuse.
Like what?
I'm going to give him what's missing right now. That's expertise that he can't get. Years of experience and a mechanic that knows how to use magic.
So
That's got to be worth something.
You're gonna sell yourself to this crook. You're gonna give this guy more power than he's ever had in his life, just so you can feel like a hero.
Not doing it for me. Doing it so that there'll be more owls in the sky and more goblins flying them.
You know, he's not gonna... Doing this one thing, you know, your whole life is gonna be worked for this guy. But you know, he's only a pawn in this whole setup. You know who is running the show here. You know who he's working for, don't you?
Kale shakes her head. Wait a minute.
Have you
I
ever
thought he
heard-
was running things here.
He's running things here, but who do you think's running him? Ever heard of the name Flint? You mess with this guy, you mess with Flint.
Wait, Uriah Flint is his boss? You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Why
He just solved all of our problems.
Don't you fucking laugh. This is serious. This is life or death. This is the closest to freedom us goblins have ever known. And, you know, Uriah Flint has given us that, but it comes at a cost.
You know, the owl was fitted with a lot of extra parts to make room for the engines. I wonder if we took a few of those out, how many berths we could add to the owl.
Why do you need extra berths? Are you thinking of setting up a travel agency?
I'm thinking if I can pull this off, we can get your entire family on the owl and get out of here before things get really bad.
You know why I fucking built the owl? To get away from my family. I'm not. The only reason any goblin ever feels the compulsion to build a ship is to extend themselves and go forth. I don't want to lose that freedom for myself.
Starlo, you're putting me in a tough spot.
It's the
You're
world,
making me
honey.
choose between doing the right thing for these goblins and giving them the same dream you have, or making life hell for them and just accepting the status quo.
What are you saying? What are you saying, that I'm intentionally trying to hurt my children?
No, I don't think you're trying to intentionally hurt them. I think you're just trying to protect them from a worse situation. But I don't think I've always found a way out of things through craft. And I think I know a way around this guy. Yeah, well, without you, that ship wouldn't be flying.
I want you to think on this before you decide what you're gonna do. You have the option to get this deal done so we can go about our mission, or you can just follow your heart.
Yeah, and I think Kale right now, up to this point, she's always gone to Cyrus for advice. She's always followed his orders, and I think this might be a good scene if Cyrus is here, for her to kind of think on this and maybe go to Cyrus for that one.
Yeah, so this scene's like taking place like in like the rear section of Snaggle's house, and then you hear the knock on the door. Does that grok with you, Toma?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Okay, you just give me like the half smile that you do, and I'm like, he disagrees. So
Nah,
I don't think you could do anything that would upset Tomo.
was the whole scene going on? Do you guys reckon like on the porch or inside the house?
I think we're out the front.
Yeah. So I think the door that I'm actually knocking on is like the back door, right? So, like this whole scene, like, that happened as we saw it, right? And then we hear some knocking, and maybe even just like the creak of a door opening, like tentatively, like, and we can see from the porch and where you guys are at, and then the doorway, we see like the inside of the shack and kind of like that door in the back, and that's when I kind of popped through. And is Kale still there? Did she take off, or is she like still?
Oh no, she's brooding. She's
Right,
probably
right.
thinking this brew and tormented by what she has to do
Yeah.
or not do.
Yes.
So I think there's a weird look. Like maybe it's hard to understand what the look is on Cyrus's face, right? So he walks through, and there's kind of like the what's Kale doing here kind of thing. Even though maybe there's also like a what's he doing here, right? What's Cyrus doing here? And but he kind of like looks over, and Kale looks like he's not really engaging, right? Like he's in his own, she's in her own world, right? And so I think Cyrus kind of shrugs and looks over at Snargle and just kind of points to the ground like, "Can I sit here?"
Yeah, go on.
And he kind of like sits down cross-legged, or this is a little porch, right? So maybe he's just kind of like sitting with one knee up to his chest and one leg's just kind of like draped over the edge. And Snargle, she was just kind of like knitting, right?
Yeah.
Is there any food here?
Yeah,
cooking?
yeah. Her oldest litter, so they're probably like 30 or 40. They're cooking up big pots of stuff that's boiling away, and they're starting to put out this food on like these big plates, and there's all these like metal, like bent metal cup kind of things. They just look like they're scrap metal that has been dented into some sort of a bowl shape. So Tiffin, that's the goblin man that cooked this, is like, "Yellow, food's up," and these goblins, all ages and sizes, come running up, grab one of these metal bowls, and like just dip it in and just walk away and like nom, 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 nom.
And I think Kale's brooding, right? And she's kind of in her own world. And then we have Snargle still maybe knitting, right? Because she's in the middle of something.
Yeah, very important. But also,
right.
One of the other kids like puts one of these bowls full of food down at her feet so she can
cool. So I think Cyrus just, like looks between the two of them and then walks over to this, pot of slop and, looks around and grabs two little kind of discarded pieces of metal and, fills one up and then the other and kind of walks over to Kale and like, just kind of like thrusts it into her arms, and then he just sits down next to Snargle and starts going at it, right? But doesn't say a word.
So over the din of clinking metal and slurping soups and the tink of the knitting needles, Snargle looks down at Cyrus out of the corner of her eye, and she's like, "Why are you here? What are you doing at my humble old shack?"
And he kind of like finishes his little bowl and puts it down, and he kind of turns toward her, and I could get used to this. Well, for a few minutes anyways. And he just kind of leans back, and he's looking at her her knitting, and he's like, I think he tries to impress you with his knowledge of your knitting, right? Because you have like patterns, right? And so I think he's trying to say something like, "Oh, is that like a 7-3-4-3?" Or you know what I mean, like something which shows like he knows, and he definitely doesn't, but it's probably like a good guess for somebody who doesn't know, right?
Yeah. And I don't think Snuggles used to people paying that close of attention to her knitting. Like, normally she gets looks of disgust and bewilderment that what she does actually works. So she's just like, doesn't quite know how to respond, and I think she just looks at Cyrus and then keeps knitting, and just yeah, how much longer do you think we're going to be on this rock for?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. Guess we'd have to ask the captain, is what he says.
Yeah, okay. So how long are we on this rock for?
Yeah, I don't know. And he just kind of lets that trail off. And he turns and he's like, "Have I ever told you about my mother?"
No, honey, why don't you tell me about your mom?
And there's like a quiet moment, and he's like, "I wish I could, but I never knew her." And he's just quiet after that.
What happened to your mom? Why don't you know her?
I mean, nearest I can tell, they just took me from her. I mean, I remember growing up on the streets for a bit, vaguely.
Who took you?
Who didn't? And he's like, he lists like a couple of different people, like just names that mean nothing, right?
Yeah.
And some of them even have like Pinky the Butcher, or like they have titles to their names, right? So that it's obvious, like they've got, and they're all over the shop, right? Like different. Yes. And he's like, but eventually, I was on the road to an early grave, and I found the Imperial core, and that set me on a straight path. And it was a pretty dark path. And I feel like I finally found the path for me.
What's that path, honey?
It's like I think I found my family and my true love.
Ooh. There's a woman? Before you know it, you'll be having litters like the best of us.
And he just kind of like, there's a little like smirk, like half smile, and he's like, one can only hope.
Oh, you're a good kid. I don't know a lot of my litter as well as I should, but they always have their puppy, and they have each other. Sounds like you didn't get that chance.
And I'm happy for like, so is Kale going to interrupt right here?
Kale is actually, so this is a sort of a requires some buy-in. This is about Uriah Flint. So Ashman works for him, right?
I just made Uriah Flynn like Goblin Overlord, so you think I didn't buy in? Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, so we're supposed to deliver Lady Blackbird to him, but Kale's been thinking this entire time, why not just bring him here? So maybe Cyrus has a signaling device that we were supposed to activate when we arrived at where we were supposed to meet him, right? But Kale's gonna kind of go off on her own a little bit and do something a little crazy. She's gonna steal it from Cyrus. She's been sizing him up the entire time that she's been talking, and she's remembering the conversation that they had when she called him, and he told her, just, she asked for his help, and he said, "You're fine, take care of it, you're good on your own." So she's kind of pushing in that direction. I might even buy off a key right now. So I'm going to try to steal it from him while he's talking with Snargle. This device to call Uriah Flint.
It's right there on the bunk.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do I need to roll for this?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, because otherwise I get to do some complications and stuff and push in. So let's do some opposed roll stuff, which is great. So actually, we'll do that, and then we'll see where we want the complications to go from there. But we'll go for you guys building like your own dice balls, as we did with Naomi and Cyrus.
Yeah. So,
hey, so quick question: what is this item? Because like I see all this stuff about Kale needing to safely deliver Lady Blackbird, but what is it? What is it Cyrus has?
Oh, what's the key for Cyrus?
Yeah.
Wait, so when you say key, are you talking about a mechanical key or a physical key?
I'm talking about the key of fraternity. So you're sworn to Captain Vance in a bond of brotherhood. Your key when your character is influenced by Vance or when you show how deep your bond is.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Normally she'll go to him and ask him, like, what are your orders or what do you think I should do? But I see that as sort of she's becoming more autonomous, and he's almost kind of like pushing her in that way a little bit. So I think she's feeling really pressured by Snargle and Cyrus right now. So she's kind of doing this thing on her own.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this device you're thinking, which calls Uriah, so are you saying that I also know of this thing?
Oh, I was thinking you have it since you're the captain, and okay. when we safely deliver Lady Blackbird wherever it is we're supposed to take her exactly, this is something he would activate perhaps, and then Uriah Flint would know to come and meet us, rendezvous with us.
So it seems like you're wanting us to buy in that Uriah Flint has arranged this journey of Lady Blackbird's? Is that what you're saying? Because I'd always just assumed that it was Lady Blackbird traveling there of her own volition.
Oh, I see.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem, it can be somewhere in between that anyway, that I guess that he sent her something or provided her with something that she's able to signal him with. That doesn't seem like too far out of the realms.
Yeah, so would that be a device that you have right now and it's not this, or is this the same thing but Cyrus has it?
Let's say that she had it and Cyrus managed to get it off her somehow. That seems like something that he would do.
And now I see an opportunity to take it as well, so I'm moving in on it. Is that cool with everyone?
Yeah. So given all that, do we want to say that it's something that, even though I left all that equipment, like, weapons and things behind, do we think that this is something I would wear around my neck or something like that? So, and this is where, this is going to, like, getting it is not as simple as just going back to the ship and grabbing it, right?
Yeah, sure. I think given that, if it's around your neck, I think what she would do instead of take it from you is just simply activate it.
Oh, that's great.
So she puts her arm around you and asks you for that last piece of advice, kind of leaning on you. But what she's really doing is slipping her hand onto the device and activating it so that Uriah Flint knows to come here and knows where to meet us.
Yeah, let's do this thing. That sounds like a good opposed roll.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Build some pools, man. Let's see how this works.
Okay. This is gonna be, let's see. Feels like either, I think burglar, sneaking. Is it sneaking or tricky? Tricky. Actually, I don't have as much as I thought I had on it. I've got quick and tricky. That's 2.
You've got 7 pool dice too.
Yeah, so I have those 2, and I think I'm gonna I think I'll dump all 7 dice on this.
Oh wow, that's great.
Because I really want this to work.
So I've got try. I'm gonna go with maybe smuggler. Like, this is, me, like, you leaning on me and I'm like, what's going on here? And, like, trying to assess that.
Mm-hmm. I do have a question. I'm sorry. Were you still adding to your pool?
No. Go ahead. I'm still thinking. But what's your question?
I haven't done it. We haven't done this. I don't know if this applies. You can't use multiple. Like, if I have tricky as like the base, and then I add to that, I can't also pick from another.
That's right.
One.
So you pick like one section. You pick the thing that defines that the most for you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think tricky. What is tumbler? Oh, that's like, we talked about that last time. That's like a circus tumbling acrobatics sort of thing. Yeah. So I've got 9 total.
You know what? I'm gonna go ex-military and tactics or something, or maybe it's like smuggler and deception. Do either of those sound like they kind of work? I don't know.
They both work for me.
Okay. So that'll be 3 dice, right? And how many did you have plus your 7?
2. So I've got 9.
You know what? I'm just gonna grab 2 of my pool dice. So I'm gonna have 5. Okay. So you've got a good chance. You're trying to surprise me, right? There's a good chance you can pull this off, but it's a chance, right?
Right.
There's always a chance.
This could go south for me pretty badly.
All right. I'm gonna choose the orange dice.
I'll go with green, and I'll roll. 1, 2. Oh my God! It's such a bad roll.
Yes. So I had 3 plus 2, so that's 5. Let's see how many I get. So you only had 2 successes, huh?
Only 2. Yeah, I'm going to be caught on this.
Oh, only 1.
Whoa!
Oh, wow!
Wow! I pulled it off.
It's got to be one of those, like, a couple of panels where there's like those close calls, like you're fumbling and I'm kind of fumbling, and it's not even like I know you're doing it. It's maybe like some goblin pushes me, and like that's what prevents you from doing it, right? But then, click.
Yeah. And then there's like maybe the camera close up on it, this little like light, blinking.
Yeah.
And then a shot of space. Maybe we know that this is getting transferred.
It's got to flash straight at least to Uriah Flint somewhere, right? Instantaneously receiving this some shadowy figure in a study or on a ship somewhere. Oh yeah, it's his ring. Yeah, that's he has a matching ring for sure. It's like.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna buy off my key with Cyrus.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think we just see like, so Cyrus is like in a study, in this like ostentatious study behind a hardwood writing desk, and his ring flashes, and he thank you, Ellen. Did I say it again? I always do that. Uriah. And I've played Lady Blackbird like so many times, and every fucking time I call him Cyrus. He leans backwards and like, he writes a small note, and he places it inside a cylinder and puts it in like a pneumatic tube, and it sucks off through his ship. And then we just see this like giant, almost like the blue whale of the depths, this enormous ship, just like lean slowly and head towards Haven. Why don't we take this opportunity where I don't know what's coming next to take another break. We'll come back in 5, and we'll have our last round for this session. And it'll be very exciting. My hope is that we get to see some Sky Squid LBB action. We'll have to work into that. So catch you guys at like 36.
Oh my goodness.
Tamir.
What are you going to do to pull this off? It's all on you, man.
Feels it. Feels all on me.
Nah, man, we got this. And this is perfect, right? It was like this slow build episode, and now the big ship is coming, right? And maybe a Sky Squid.
I just don't know why.
Yeah. That die, it's amazing how so much can hang on a die roll.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That could have been like totally different situations.
I'm gotta say, I'm very happy with how many die rolls we've had per session. It seems like they're only there for these really important things, right? Because like I can see somebody running this game and maybe like there's lots of stuff rolling, like almost like you're playing like Dungeon World or something, right? And like that doesn't sound to me like, I mean, you know, I'm not saying the right way to do it. Like obviously table and players are all going to make a difference, you know, what the story is leaning toward. But like for our session, I've loved like this amount of die rolls feels like just the right decision.
The key I found when running Lady Blackbird, and as a tip to you guys if you ever run it, are the questions like the one that I asked Naomi when people are like, so I want to sneak into the room and fight this Marine, and you're like, wouldn't you rather fight all the Marines? And like try and push those challenge ratings up really high so that they use pool dice, and like just because big stakes, get out of the way quickly. It's like PBTA rolls 2d6 is like, and it's done. This you've got to build dice pools and it takes time and stuff. So like you wouldn't want to do it all the time.
Right. That's good.
I don't know what the Sky Squid's going to do, guys.
Well, so what's this thing that Lou picked up, or Lady Blackbird picked up? That's
Lady Blackbird picked up.
Secrets, right?
Yeah, the Secret of the Sky song. You know how to call Sky Squid and can attempt to communicate them when they appear.
Dude, just don't worry about bringing the Sky Squid. It sounds like Lady Blackbird's going to do it. Maybe. Oh my god. Oh, I have an idea, but I don't know.
Oh, I have an idea.
Oh,
no,
good.
I've got it. Yeah,
all right,
yeah. All right.
Oh wait, is Ari back?
Oh, good point.
He was, but then he took off for a second.
Yeah, I thought he was. And then I was reading things, and then I'm so excited. Okay, so pacing wise, 8:36. I've got an hour left before I need to let Tomes get to sleep. So I'm thinking like maybe one or two more like big scenes, and then epilogues, and then debriefs. I think so. I don't think we've got much left of the game proper, which is just great because I think I only want to see like one or two things. So, Naomi, you're sitting across from Lady Blackbird, drinking and we can tell it's a little bit later because the sun has started to set in Haven. But all of a sudden, like the sun seems to set a little bit quicker than normal, and we see like a shadow, an enormous shadow, fall across the face of Lady Blackbird. And I'm not sure whether we'd see it like surprise or a smile or what, but from Lady Blackbird's perspective, as this like shadow falls across her, we see this enormous, and I said whale-like before, and that's what I want to get as like a touchstone for a visual touchstone. This giant like whale-like ship that blocks out the sun as it comes over the horizon of Haven, and it's like Uriah Flint, the pirate king's flagship, and it like, I think if there were anyone conscious around you, Naomi, you would hear them gasp. And I think like a silence just falls over the whole planet. Lady Blackbird, what do we see on your face when Uriah Flint's flagship rolls into view?
I think we see a literal and metaphorical shadow as she's still angry at the I think she's been drowning her sorrows for the last like hour or so, probably incessantly complaining the entire time, being a spoiled brat, and repeatedly going around the bar and getting like only the most expensive drinks off the the top shelf. But yeah, I think I actually like that as contrast with as she looks up at the ship, you get this little swirl of like past and future events like sparking again, and I think then maybe we see Uriah Flint in his Star Trek like deck of his ship with all his officers around him, getting this similar like strange pool of past and future, you know, potential events, and that's so there is actually some kind of real, you know, like, you know, they're either star-crossed lovers, or they have some kind of like real connection going on. So I think she immediately knows who it is, and I think she looks to Naomi, and she's like, "It's Uriah Flint. He's here."
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think so. They've both been drinking for a while. So I think Naomi looks over at her, and she looks up, and she finishes off the last of the ale that's in front of her, and then without a word, she like reaches down on one of these, you know, bloodied and battered pirates, and she pulls out this like nicked cutlass and just like slings it back over her shoulder.
I thought she was going to fire off some rounds at the ship, at the massive ship.
I think like in Uriah's on Uriah's deck, we see him like remembering that moment where your first kiss was interrupted, and it's exactly the same as we saw it before, where like you lean in together, and then there's an explosion of noise that shakes you out. But this time the explosion carries over onto our present day, and we see a smaller ship, but still large, in the sky, crossing over from the other horizon, and it's the Hand of Sorrow, which has been tracking down the owl, but has been able to like intercept the signal to Uriah, and as it like crests over, its large cannons fire onto Uriah Flint's ship, and we see it like shake and rumble but hold together. I want to bring this just quickly across to the inside of Snargle's house, because I think what would happen is the place would just go dark inside, like there'd just be less light coming in through the windows, and then almost before you were able to get out to see what that was, you would just hear these like thunderous cannon explosions. And then because you're the second class citizens, of course, this is where the debris falls. And so like bits off off Uriah's ship fall into like the goblin shanties and scatter houses. Yes, what do we see, Snuggle, from your crew?
Yeah, so this is happening. Snuggle like gets up and looks up in the sky, sees the Pirate King's ship, sees the Hand of Sorrow, looks at Kaelin's like, "You've done this. This rests on your shoulders. You better get your ass into the owl so we can try and make this right." And I think Cyrus is probably still there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Come on. You got to get your boots on and actually do some real work. And I think Snargle leads the way as deftly as she can.
Totally just whistle for the owl, it'll come, right?
Yeah, it'd come, but it'd like take out half a dozen shanties while it was doing it.
I love that. That's such a good answer for that. No, yeah, that's perfect. How fast does Snargle walk?
Well, normally quite slow, and she normally looks quite decrepit, but actually when she needs to move, she almost moves like a monkey, like because she's so dexterous and her muscle memory is so great that she knows how to move through the village.
That's great. I love that we have to like hurry to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like small gaps that you guys have to like stop and squeeze through, but Snuggle just goes through them.
Yeah, and like buildings that we have to like climb over and like jump between, that kind of fun thing.
And you're breaking for the owl, right?
Yeah, we're going to the owl.
Great.
And,
what do you do once you arrive there?
Point to Kel, you get to the turret. Point to Cyrus, you get to the right turret. What is it? Starboard. Anyway, she speaks like proper ship piloty speak. Insert proper ship's piloty speak here. And then she just like crawls almost on the roof and then in through a secret hatch and into the pilot seat and like kicks her over and like wobbles the owl into the air. And she's
What is it about the way that the owl responds to you that tells you you're now the captain?
It's that the micro movements in Snuggle's body is like perfectly mirrored by the owl. Like she sits on her chair and lifts her feet up and the landing wheels retract. And she does a slight adjustment to the right and to the left of her shoulders, not necessarily the steering wheel, and the ship moves.
Right. And how do you feel about that?
It's like breathing. So this is just like extending another limb.
So, and so it like feels right.
It feels so right. And
That's
it's
awesome.
not even questioning. Like, I don't think Snuggle knows at the front of her brain that she is the captain, the acknowledged captain, because she always thought that she was the one running the show. Except, you had to acknowledge that this other person was the boss, la-di-da. But now, like, none of that is in her mind. She's just doing what needs to be done.
Awesome. A shot rings out that sounds like someone has fired a cannonball the size of Haven itself, and it like ripples the air as it passes over Lady Blackbird and Naomi. And when it hits Cyrus's ship, this and this like the if you guys have seen that size comparison between the Hand of Sorrow and the Owl, we now have the Hand of Sorrow dwarfed by this enormous whale of Uriah Flint's flagship. And when the shot hits it, it just like heaves over in the air, and like you can see its flight path disturbed. And an insane amount of force, and the ship takes it and holds together. But it like sinks out of the sky a little bit. Kale, let's talk about, or Kale and Cyrus, let's talk about what you do from the turrets of this ship.
I mean, I definitely don't have time to go and put on boots, right? So despite our prior conversation, right? So we definitely see this scene where I jump into the, the turret box, and we see like a shot from below, and you see my big bare feet like on the pedals or whatever. I don't know, maybe we see some of that that residual scene that you were just talking about with that ship to ship you know, from my view from that little pillbox, right? And I don't know, like these ships are huge, right?
Yeah.
But I know Imperial ships. So I wonder if, you know, I'm gonna grab the little, like, you know, communicator box, or, you know, like the tube that goes over to the captain's, you know, the cockpit, and I'll be like, hey, I have an idea maybe on how we can get, what's the Imperial ship's name again? The what?
The Hand of Sorrow.
The Hand of Sorrow. And I'm like, you know, we might be able to disable it if we get a shot. You know, there's a small point near the engine, and if we get a shot there, maybe we can disable the engine, right? At least that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You want to bring down the ship here? What are you, insane? Did you not just share lunch with my children? Snargle then drops height of the owl erratically, and then flies so close to the Hand of Sorrow that it's not in range. And then Snargle wants to lead the Hand of Sorrow out over the smuggler's port.
And can we say, when you make that really sharp move right after my poor suggestion, like my head hits the top of, you know, it's almost like you hit me on the head, like, you idiot.
Yeah. And I think that's entirely what happened, because this owl is an extension of herself. So maybe it's not the fact that the ship darted, it's that there was this headrest that seemed to come out of nowhere and, like, hit you on the back of the head.
Yes.
Awesome.
Oh my god.
I want to see what you guys are doing in a sec. First, Lady Blackbird, is there anything you'd like to do?
Well, I had been thinking about summoning some sort of giant sky squid.
I mean, it's an option.
I want to, yeah, definitely do that. So I think we see Lady Blackbird looking around, and she's entering. Like, this is pretty fucking massive. Like, there's 2 flagships in the sky over the, like, you know, half of this planet. I was thinking about riding on the sky squid, but I think I changed my mind now. So the tale as old as time, riding a sky squid to your lover. Yeah, I think we see, I think actually we see her look up, and she looks vulnerable, like, and drunk. She just looks like, and she's looking, she knows whose ship that is, and she's having this strange experience, I guess, of this interesting connection. And she looks over at Naomi, and, you know, well, like, Naomi's badass, but what can she do against, you know, 2 fucking massive flagships in the lower atmosphere? And I think her eyes are darting around, but then I think she looks down and she looks back up, and we see this kind of it's like I think we see, like, storm clouds, and, like, this, like, kind of crackling, like, lightning in her eyes, and then we get this, like, superimposed like, you know, those strange naked gods that we had earlier on when we managed to escape from the lower depths. I think we flash back to that scene, and there was something strange about that. Like, we kind of saw I think one of the gods kind of passing the owl through a wormhole, but I think we this time I think we see it's maybe actually her and Kale again floating out in space when they made this happen. And I think we get that strange thing of the god walking across the empty space like it's the floor, and she walks up to both of them. And I think you see she whispers something to them. And this is that moment of her like teaching her the, or maybe like it's like you will summon this. Maybe she even shows them a premonition of this moment occurring, but they hadn't known what it would be until now. Like it was too like whack to like understand.
This can we say that like this whole like little scene,
Mm.
like if we're looking in the comics, this is
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 pages worth of like these beautiful illustrations
Yeah.
and like old primordial things, and like this when the squids used to rule this world and all this other kind of shit.
Oh yeah, and totally. I reckon the that god that comes and whispers to them, she totally does that lame effect of floating up out of the floor with in the reverse of the water like going off her, like you're like yeah, and yeah, so I think maybe this god has given her some sort of like mantra to repeat or something, and it's almost like what's it called, glossolalia, like speaking in tongues. She starts like doing this strange chant, and yeah, I think I like the idea even of seeing like one of these sky squids like just warp in. Do you know what I mean? It's like like, and I like actually, how you said that Uriah's flagship dwarfed the Hand of Sorrow. I think we then see this like it's like dwarfs like it dwarfs Uriah's ship, and I think we see these tentacles like coming down and perhaps wrapping around both of the ships. And I think we probably see the owl like dodging in and out of these tentacles as they're reaching down towards the thing. I'm happy to leave it there and let other people jump in and do shit, because I don't want to totally like fuck up everything with my. Do you want me to?
No. This is the thing. This is what we're gonna do, and I want to get everyone's thing on this.
Yes.
Is you all are gonna tell me how you're getting involved in this, and then everyone's gonna roll their dice pools, and you're gonna try and hit an insane number. And I think that like you kind of overwhelm this shit, right? I think the stakes of this is how much damage is done to Haven, and particularly to like the goblins, right? And their little community. And I think that's the stakes. I think that you guys got Sky Squids and Uriah's a bigger ship and all that sort of stuff. So like you're gonna fuck up the Hand of Sorrow anyway. It's about how many innocent goblins you harm in doing.
Yeah, I think Lady Blackbird's definitely trying to like throw these fucking massive flagships out of the atmosphere with the squid. Like that's what I'm trying to do. So that makes sense.
So we've heard yours, Lou. So have a think. We won't like build it with you. You have a think about what your dice pool is going to be, and we'll jump to. I'm going to go away from that scene and come back to it. So let's go to Snuggle. You're the pilot. You've probably got the most variable one. What are you doing to help overcome this? You said before you were going to try and like drag the Hand of Sorrow away. Has that changed?
Yeah. Not physically drag, but
I mean, like,
lure. And I think as this giant sky squid warps into like our life, Snuggle flies the owl almost like she's dancing with the squid. Like it just, so not only there's the steering wheel, right? And a couple of like levers, standard pilot machinery that she's using, but she kicks back and she's driving that standard pilot dashboard with her feet, and with her hands, she seems to have grown 2 other sets of arms, and she's reached up and she's pulled down these multiple yarn ropes, brightly colored pink and green and blue and yellow, and this is giving the owl such fine maneuverability that you've never seen. The owl, even when it was flying well before, always looked kind of a bit clunky, but with these extra arms and these extra levers, she seems to have the owl flying like a hummingbird, darting in between the tentacles and through the ships. And then she just gets out of potentially we get out of this close quarters and zooms off and creates such a great temptation for the Hand of Sorrow that it would just need to follow the owl off into the distance.
All right, solid. I'll do one more here. So, Kale, what are you doing in this low orbit sky battle?
I'm doing something you guys probably won't expect. I open up a video comm with Ashton down below on the surface. And if he comes up, I say to him, "Listen, you rat bag, you wanted a deal? Here's the deal. I just called in your boss. He's flying in orbit above you right now in battle with the Hand of Sorrow. Here's the deal. You use all your power and technology to protect those goblins, and your boss is going to be very happy. If not, you're going to end up a prisoner on the Hand of Sorrow. You've got 5 seconds to decide." And then I close the
so ballsy space opera. I love it. Naomi.
So Lady Blackbird is sort of like communing with the squid, right, Lou? Okay. So Lady Blackbird is like communing with the squid, and Naomi obviously doesn't particularly like magic. So I think she looks over and sees her, and then like one last time she kind of spits on the ground at the side when she sees the sorcery happening. And then she sees the owl flying already, and she knows she's not on it. And so she casts around and she sees one of these pirates on the ground that's got a shining captain pin on their lapel. So she looks over at Lady Blackbird one last time, and then she sprints toward this individual that's on the ground, picks that person up by the lapel, grabs that captain pin off of their jacket, sticks it on her own chest, just like jams it in, actually like blood pins herself, and says, "Where's your ship?" And I think the next scene that we see is Naomi like running on board the ship, the hatch, this other pirate ship, the hatch closing up, and this captain, this person that she'd been hauling with her, just getting ejected out of the hatch just before it closes.
Oh, that's so good. Naomi Sky Pirate.
Oh man.
Cyrus, I think you're the last one. What are you doing involved in this ship?
Oh my God. So I think I am 100% like following orders. I've been put in my place by the new captain. And, you know, I'm just being told to do things, right? It's like, shoot over the bow of that direction and, you know, send off, you know, one of these little, you know, links and whatever, like little explosion things and whatever. But like everything is just being whatever Snargle's kind of like telling me to do, right? And just a lot of like gun work and, you know, even shooting off flares or other stuff. Maybe we even get at this point like a communique from Naomi, And so, like we have to communicate with her, and part of it is like sending a flare somewhere or whatever, right? Like helping her line up something, right?
Yeah,
right,
I
that's
think
so good.
Naomi comes over the horn, and you see her, or you hear her like very tentatively, like contacting the owl from her own ship.
I like that she's contacting the captain of the owl.
Yep.
And like, maybe even she says Captain Vance, but it's Snargle who responds.
Snargle pops up. So good. Okay, so I hope you've all built some pools based on your relevant actions, because I think, what have we got? We've got 5 of you, and I think this is a big thing, right? This is all right. Let me have a look. I got to go back to Lady Blackbird descriptions. Kind of want to say 5 again. I kind of want to say, I know a bunch of you gonna dump things, so let's say
15.
Well, I was going to say 20 or 25.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I kind of feel like I want this to have like really high stakes. I want to say 25.
Yeah, okay.
I just want to make sure it's not
if
insane.
we're all putting into it.
Oh,
Yeah,
so,
no, you are.
So it's a team pool.
It's you guys collaboratively as a pool. Everyone's getting involved in this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But the
I've got 14
rules-
to put in.
You're 14. Yeah. All right, I'm feeling better about 25 now.
Yeah, 25's fine.
What we'll probably do is figure out how much everyone has and roll like low pool to high pool, so that we maintain all that tension for probably Snuggle right at the end with your 14. 15. Goddamn.
I got 13 with all my pool thrown in.
Nice. Is this Master Sorcerer you're using, Lady Blackbird?
Yeah.
Nice.
Squid summoning.
I picked up when I bought off that key, I got an advance, and I took Secretive Experience, which lets me use tags for more than one. Yeah, I just don't have much of a dice pool, so even with that.
Yeah. Oh no, you're getting carried. Ari, in this last bit. Well, you're still contributing. Yeah.
Yeah, could I combine magic with this and use spellcaster, kind of like compel him using magic on top of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Still not going to be a whole lot. Let's see, 1, 2. Did you guys roll already?
No one's rolled. We're just figuring out what everyone's got together.
Let me just look at this one more time.
So at the moment, I've got 7 for Stephen, 7 for Naomi, 13 for LBB, 14 for Snargle. Holmes is 12. Sorry, Cyrus is 12, and we'll see what that is.
I think I got 5 with one combined.
All right, cool. So 5. Let me just see what that total is at the moment. So we got 25, 39, plus 5 is 44, and then 7 is 51. That sounds about right to me? 51. All right, cool. So we're looking at about 25 from 51, which is great because it means that you guys are on like about just over a 50% chance to hit this, which I'm loving. So let's start with you, Ari. Let's start with rolling in. Give us, even if you don't have to go into like every trait you're using and stuff like that, but give us like a broad of what these traits are and how that affects what you're doing and that sort of stuff, so that we can get a really good idea of that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm using Tricky and Petty Magic, basically. Those are the big ones. And using basically, putting pressure on him, but through craft and ledger domain, but also applying sort of the magical urgency of this through the magic to like kind of pressure him, take influence his mind through that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I love it.
Channeling below, not just using the technology to get to him, but also use spellcraft. Did you want me to roll it, or we just?
Yeah, no, roll your 5 for sure. Let me just
okay.
Got a clear room. Cool. Roll those 5s.
Okay. Oh, good roll. Got 4 out of 5.
Nice. All right, so we've got 4 on the trot. Next up, 7. That's you, Naomi. I'm so excited about this.
Oh, I got my mic off. Okay, so I'm doing Sky Pirate and shooting, which I just took. For that grand total of 7 there. Sorry.
I love that you're getting to like use Sky Pirate in this. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited about that. Okay. I only got 2. Can I re-roll with Defender?
I mean, you're defending, right?
Yeah, Secret of the Bodyguard.
Secret of the Bodyguard. You're protecting someone. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so I think we might be able to work in like. I'm going to delete those. We might be able to work in like a scene where she provides some top cover for the owl in some way. What are negatives?
I think you did fudge dice if you've got negatives.
So is that
you did? So that's
count
yeah, I'd scrub those off because you're only giving yourself a 1 in 3 chance to succeed there, whereas the DH are 50-50.
Sorry, I don't mean to continue to build.
That's all right. There's so much suspense. Who else is tense here?
There, 5. 5 out of 7.
Oh, woo! All right, good reroll.
Yeah,
5 out of 7. You guys are up to 9 already. All right. Who was on 12? That's you, Tomes. And I want to, just before you get in there, just to build a little bit of tension here. I think one of Cyrus's side cannons like fires off this shot, and it ejects a giant shell that like falls right next to that ship that the little goblin children were playing on, and it like hits the ground and it throws dirt up over them. Uriah, thank you, Ellen. I got to stop playing Lady Blackbird.
All right, so I think Cyrus, he's channeling his ex-Imperial soldier, right? This is the way we saw the beginning of his arc in the story, right? There was like a lot of parallels and showing little flashbacks about how that's where he came from, and even taking orders because he wasn't the original captain, right? And now we see him kind of in that mode, right? And like taking orders, but like doing it, executing it perfectly, right? Yeah, so that's the thrust of it. And I guess that's it. Roll some dice. Roll some orange dice. Ooh, 4 out of 12. That's not good.
That's not good. 4 out of 12. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy.
I think we even see a thing where it's like, there's a shot that, he's told, to shoot a warning shot, and he shoots and it ends up hitting one of the ships. And we even see this quick flash cut of like, the soldiers in the ship, and they're like and I don't know if it's Uriah's ship or maybe it's the Sorrow, but like, they're like, oh, engine 3 is down. And we see like the ship starting to like sink a little bit and the whole Goblin city's like below, right? Like Haven is all sitting below. It's like, fuck. And I think he gets reprimanded, right? It's totally like Snargle, like, I said a warning shot, that kind of thing.
Yes. I think you're next, Lady Blackbird, and the Hand of Sorrow like shoots this electrical arc into one of the tentacles of the sky squid, and it cuts it, and it like dumps this black viscous fluid over the ground of Haven, and where it lands near the pirate bar, we see it like run right up to the edges of this garden and then just like snake around it. There's just been so many fights there over the years that the ground is just soaked in blood.
Nice.
You're up.
Yeah, so I think I kind of described how Lady Blackbird had the whole Storm Eyes thing and was calling the squid, but the whole thing with the sky squid is that that you can essentially communicate directly with the squid. So I think we get some sort of scene where like everything like slows right down, and it's Lady Blackbird's looking up in the sky, and we see this kind of serene alien squid face like looking down at her, and she's like, I think it's another subtitled, it's like squid language. So I think she's like making these strange sounds and stuff, and it's very formal. She's like, thank you for coming, like thank you for coming when I called, and the squid's like, it's like, well, I will always come when you call for me. And this formality's strangely tied up with her still being super pissed off with Uriah Flint, and she puts her hand up in the air and closes her hand, and the whole Uriah Flint's flagship breaks completely in half and starts like slowly falling towards the ground.
Savage.
But hopefully it will miss the Goblin village. They'll laugh about this when they're older and they've finally managed to get together.
They're older. All right. Let's see what you get, man. You've got, what, 12 dice?
I think so. Yeah, 13, I think.
13.
Okay, here I go. I'm just going to get rid of all of these other things if I can.
Sure.
Blup, 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 blup. Sorry, I'm clicking on, I don't know how to select everything at once.
Oh my God.
Right, can you clear everything?
I'll do it for you.
Well, I did it.
Yeah, well done.
Okay, here we go. Oh, I only got 5. But wait, I'm going to immediately re-roll it because we want to succeed here. I've got a, I can re-roll my inner focus when I fail using sorcery.
All right.
Pull out all the stops. Stupid thing. Clear. Okay, here we go. Re-roll 13. Submit. Fuck. I rolled 6 that time.
6? Better. It's better.
Yeah.
All right. So we need to see at least 6 successes. 6 successes from Snuggle will win this day. So Snuggle, Uriah Flint's ship breaks in half, and we see the shadow of it, like we see from the perspective of Kerbin, the little goblin, looking up and just seeing this like enormous looming shadow coming down towards that shanty village. And it's all down to you.
And I think when we see Kerbin and he's looking up at this sky battle, around his neck he has a rock that looks like any stone from like the road here, but it's crocheted. It's got like a little crochet covering around it, and it's hung on a yarn necklace, and he's holding onto that. And then from him looking up, we snap to Snargle sitting back in a pilot seat, like ridiculously multi-limbed, moving quite quickly, dodging through sky squid tentacles and ships and fire. Pew, pew, pew. And then everything slows down and you see a still, like really super slow motion of each of the characters' faces, like tense in their moment of concentration at this last epic like battle. And just so you guys can feel the tension I'm feeling, like throughout this episode, as it's getting more tense, I'm like knitting faster and faster. And like I imagine that a Snargle that like as urgency is building, like her fine motor skills are like picking up super fast, and she's just a blur of godness goblin magic. Are you ready? Okay, let's do
I'm ready,
this.
all right. I've been ready for 4 weeks. I can't see it. It's not loading yet. Holy
2,
shit.
4, 6, 8,
Holy
9.
shit.
Snargle in the house, yo!
Snargle.
Nice.
Snargle.
Shit. 28. We got to 28 successes. Holy shit. How do we do this? All right. So
I mean, they're definitely that like those ships have to be coming down to,
oh
you know,
yeah.
like it looks like they're just gonna crush
Yeah.
the whole town, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it looks like they're just gonna end Haven and the entire like every bit of civilization in this small area.
That there's also a shot of like puppy Snargle, with like children like clambering onto his legs, looking terrified, and they're all looking up at this like devastation that's appearing to crash down on them.
Yeah. Like there's the shot of the front half of Uriah's ship like falling towards it, and then one of the sky squid tentacles just like scoops it out of the way, and it like plummets into the dirt somewhere. Man, yeah. Do you all want to give me like one like rescue scene of this of the damage being prevented?
Lady Blackbird only prevents damage by accident.
You know what? I think just to like, because Cyrus, you know, we see the effort, and yeah, you know, definitely he made some difference to the cause, but it very much concentrated on these mistakes that he made right during the battle. Like there's the 2 or 3 mistakes, you know, but I think there's definitely this one. It's almost implausible, right? But there's that one shot of like a big piece of debris falling from a ship, and the owl happens to be flying, like, and we can see Snargle's shack, right? And it's right in the it's I mean, that's it. Like that's ground zero, right? This huge part of I think the Hand of Sorrow is just about to land and completely demolish that shack. And I think you know, Cyrus turns the cannon, and you know, that like is aiming, and there's the sweat, and it's like back and forth, and then shoots and happens to hit it right in the middle, so like it breaks apart, and it lands on both, like to the side of the shack, right? So both parts, make these huge craters, but the shack is kind of intact right in the center.
That's awesome. Ari, do you want to show us the Ashman bit?
Yeah, sorry. What Ashman is doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe he's like whoever's left in his crew there. They're rushing to get all this equipment kind of like wired together, diverting all the power, calling in on all his contacts on the surface that he knows to divert all the power to this to his grid, and then projecting this sort of umbrella of defensive energy around that quadrant, wherever that is, where the goblins are. Hopefully protect them.
That's super nice.
Can I jump in on one?
Yeah. Go.
I got one. So I think, the sorrow's like falling. The sorrow's falling apart, and bits are breaking off and whatnot. And I think we see this like random gunner who's like battered and bloody and like laying on the floor right next to one of the giant cannons. And the ship is like falling to the side. And we look down the barrel of that cannon and see it perfectly fall in line with the pirate bar. And that dying gunner like reaches up and grabs the cord. And just as he's about to pull it, the whole area falls apart, like just explodes in this massive explosion. And then you just see Naomi's new ship just like corkscrewing through the sky as she like flies off after shooting it out.
So good. Does anyone? I love that. Like, you're still there for her. That's so good. Does anyone have any others? I lost track of who.
So you see the owl like get out of this and like shoot off into the blue sky over the port, and it cuts to the captain's deck on the Hand of Sorrow, and you hear like you see the captain, which is probably one of those guys that were playing cards back in the very first episode, and they're like, forget about Flint, follow that owl.
And like just interning broadside to track the owl. Like they just wear shots down the side. Oh man. Has that been everyone there?
I think maybe I was going to kind of skip out and say Lady Blackbird only helps by accident, but I think as she does, I think I kind of want to see her get out of there, like as all of the shit's falling down. So I guess she'll, I think maybe she manages to jump on one of the pirate ships, like another pirate ship as well, like some sort of small shitty ship.
I think the shot I think the shot that we last see of this moment is this long shot of the small town, the small community of Haven on this large planet of Haven, and it's just like destruction and damage and craters all around. There are probably parts of it that look like the world itself is cracking, where large sections of the ship have landed. There's fires springing up in the bushes and things like that. But around all of this damage and destruction, there's like a small shanty village of goblins, and we just see them from this village scatter and run into the broken falling ships, like tearing pieces off the side, drawing out like huge electrical bits and holding them above their head and shaking them, and then like running back to the village. And we can hear, even from this like really long orbital shot of the planet, we can hear like they're cheering and yelling, and we hear like that loud sick greasy hum of the owl's engine. Lou, did you say you want to do super sweet epilogues? Oh, I guess we can do some epilogues if you want. What order should we do epilogues in? So I guess the question is, you can go as, so let's set some stakes for this, or some tone for this. For your epilogues, you can go as far forward or as far back in time as you want. But I think what we want to see mostly is like the change, like who you've become after this adventure, after all this excitement. And if you don't want to go too far at all, and you just want to like show the immediate aftermath and leave heaps of threads untied, you're more than welcome to do that. And if you want to show us what happens a year and a half later at Lady Blackbird's divorce proceedings or whatever, you can do that. Like it's up to you and how much you want to secure about your character. Yeah, heaps of threads untied. Yeah. If you want to leave them untied or leave them crocheted. Why don't we go in the reverse order of actually, let's go in the same order of what we rolled there. I feel like that. So, Ari, do you want to kick us off with Kale's epilogue?
Yeah. We see Kale back on the surface just before she left the Goblin Village. And she's standing there in front of Kerbin. And she tells Kerbin, looks down at him and says, be a great pilot, be a great mechanic, be a captain of your own ship. Whatever it is you dream big and do it. And she hands him her sword, her electro rapier, and nods, and she points at the ship. Never give up on your dreams. And then we see her in the future as she's turning away from the owl. That's the last time she'll ever see the owl. And she's going into the service of Lady Blackbird. And she's just bought off her keys of burglary. That's no longer in her life. And she's ready to be a magician. That's the end for her.
Oh, special. Who is the next one? I've got them all here somewhere, I'm sure. I think it was Stephen, you next, wasn't it? Oh.
Yeah, so I think the scene is just it's on a different planet, and you see in the background this the ship that she had taken, but now it had been fairly decrepit and had lots of corrosion and stuff all over it, and now it's been freshly painted. It's actually bright red. It's got this emblem on the side, and it says Phoenix across the top. And you see Naomi just at the bottom of the boarding ramp. There's a fairly rapscallion-looking goblin like in the doorway looking on, and you see Naomi at the bottom of the boarding ramp, and she's hugging this other person that looks a lot like her, who's in her mid-20s, purple-skinned. But you also see like she's still got this silk scarf wrapped around her arm, but now there's just a hint of a letter sticking up out of that scarf at the same time.
Ah. 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 I'm having a moment. Tomes, are you able to keep going? Are you able to? Oh man, I don't know. All right, let me pull it together. So we see this is right after the battle, right? The owl lands like barely, right? Like it's all tore up, and I think we see Cyrus, like almost like fall out of the ship, right? And scratched up and whatever. And then Snargle comes out, and I think there isn't even like really a dialogue there. I think it's more that Cyrus turns to Snargle and pulls out his Imperial blade and cuts his own hand and gets down on one knee and like holds it in a fist and like the blood's coming out and puts it to his chest and just like puts his head down and says, "I pledge myself to you, my captain." And and then just looks up at Snargle. And I think I think that's like kind of where we see that part end. But there's like a future scene where we see them older. Like, I mean, we can't tell if Snargle's older, but definitely like we see Cyrus, like, there's like white in the hair and like he's got like this kind of like bushy beard, like he didn't have any facial hair before or whatever, right? And we see the two of them, and it's definitely in the Owl, right? Like in the crew quarters, like the little mess hall that everyone would meet up in. And we see Cyrus sitting there like knitting, right? And and he's like, it's a quiet moment, and then he's like, "How's that look?" And Snargle's just kind of like shaking her head, and, and that's it. I've actually lost my shit. That's so good. Oh my god. Oh god, Lady Blackbird.
Cool. I got two little bits. One is the letter. I guess how Naomi comes across the letter. I think we see. I guess it's some damage that the owl took during that battle. We see that kind of like Lady Blackbird's room on the owl is like totally like messed up. There's like a breach in the hull in that part of the thing, and we just see this it's the letter rolled up like in a bottle, and it's just like floating through like the blue. And I guess we see some sort of like like claw come down and grab it, and it's like retracts into this ship, and it's Naomi picks it up, and it's this like another random occurrence of a we probably see her face as she sees the letter. And the other part, I guess, is it could actually be sometime into the future, or it could be quite soon. But we see Kale and Lady Blackbird in the lower depths, surrounded by these deep gods, standing on the head of a sky squid, and they're like just like through the thing, and they're like their work weaving all this awesome like magic and shit. And I think maybe that Kale has a staff with like the maybe it's only partially carved. It's got the beginning of her story like carved upon it, and yeah, they're just zooming through all of this awesome shit. And I guess we still don't know when she'll reconnect with Uriah Flint at some time in the future.
If she can forgive him, that motherfucker. Snuggle.
So Cyrus has just cut his hand and is dedicating his service to Snuggle as captain. And Snuggle looks down at him and is like, you seem surprised, like this is a new thing. Come on, get up. And so Cyrus is looking a bit confused. She helps him stand up. She reaches down and picks up the suitcase that you saw her pack in the opening scenes, and she holds his hand, and they wander through the shantytown to Snuggle's little house, and then once they get to the door of Snuggle's house, it shows the back of them, and you see the suitcase drop down to the ground, and she's got a hand on Cyrus's back, and is like, This is your new home now. You don't have to worry about serving anyone. Haven is about being free. And then it cuts, like there's a nice, like kids come running in, and then it kind of fades to the next cut of the inside of the owl. And it's kind of a little bit like confusing, like we just saw them leave the owl, but they're inside the owl. Cyrus is older and beardier. Snuggle is snugglier. She's shaking her head at Cyrus's attempt at knitting, but she's like, you're getting better, kiddo. You're getting better. And then the camera zooms out the top hatch of the owl, and you see the owl has just been snug up next to the Snuggles home, and is now like the renovated extra rooms of the shanty home. And you see as you're zooming out of the village, you're seeing many more kids building their own little ships than what you did when we first saw the village. And you even see some sneaky little rat bags try and pry off bits of the owl, and you hear Snuggle in the distance, "Hey, get off it!" And then we just fade to like dun, 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 credits roll.
Oh my god,
We fucking did it!
we did a thing.
Oh my god, it was so good.
Nice.
I'm shedding tears.
Oh, you guys are so good. Like every one of you is just like hit me hard tonight. Thank you.
Can we all just give each other stars all the way around?
Yes! And hugs. Stars and hugs.
Jason already calls wishes too touchy-feely. If we call it stars and hugs, he'll just kick it right off.
Stars and hugs and wishes.
Yes, just you got to add the hugs to the rest.
He's the one that's always sharing the sparkly puppy pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, like for reals, I don't really want to do stars and wishes. I don't think wishes are useful at the end like this, and I think that stars are pretty self-evident. We can all like relive our favorite moments if we want and do stars and stuff, but like I just think we should like even not as structured as stars, but just like fucking tell someone something you thought was super cool. Because like I gotta say like the build up for Naomi becoming a sky pirate felt so like organic and real, and it was like it was always there. Then you took like a trait here, and then you're like, oh, I do this here. And then at the end, you're like, I steal a fucking ship and become a sky pirate. Yes, it just felt so great.
Leading up to that, and the battle was starting to happen, and I was like, how is Naomi gonna fit into this battle? Like, you know, like in my head, I was like, what's she gonna do? You know, and it was just insane. That was just insane.
Like, when the owl took off, when you guys had the owl take off, I was like, they left us on the ground. And then I was just like, fuck it, I gotta have her just like go and do it. And yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that ended up being really cool.
I've got a informal star for Ari with the taking that risk of getting everyone's buy-in to do that like quite bold thing that really like totally shaped the direction of and like helped to bring on, like, I'm sure Sid would have got us there anyway, but I think it was a nah, he would have fucked it up. We would have fucked it up if that didn't happen. Ari, you saved us all.
Seriously, it feels like if that didn't happen, like how could the story have possibly wrapped up correctly?
Yeah.
And it speaks to maybe out of character and in character pressures, creating those pressures. If I didn't feel that pressure, I would not have done that. I felt a lot of intense pressure on the character, and I just like, fuck, what am I gonna do here? And then, yeah, it was just
that whole scene, watching Kale struggle with these dilemmas, like I really enjoyed that. That I was gonna throw some.
Yeah, Kale got smashed.
I felt it. I felt it.
That interaction. I mean, that scene to me was like part of it was seeing Kale struggle with that, and like so seriously, right? Like he was so bought into like, no, wait, this is what we have to do, and then Snargle just like butting up against that, right? And like the two of them, like, Kale had her plans, but like, oh, so good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed like bringing in those real world dilemmas. Like you've got, all these aid agencies doing all these things, and you've got celebrities going in and rescuing a couple of kids like heroes. And, we've got this situation here. And it's like, wow, shit, what are you going to do? You're going to save one kid. Good on you. Like, this problem's so much bigger. Anyway.
Yeah, big nebulous thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
props
to Lou. He's gone.
Oh,
no props for you, Lou. Yeah, I enjoyed so much out of that. I actually want to quickly snap back to the sheet and have a look at the scenes that we said we wanted to see like really early on and just like out of interest. Oh, by the way, if anyone has anything they'd like to say to Tomes, they need to. Maybe we can do that now. And Tomes, if you want to go to bed, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I can talk about this all night.
It might be hard for me to go to bed. I'm going to take my time here. This is the last episode.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I got a full 2 hours of sleep before we started. And I've got at least, right now, if I got to sleep, I'd have at least 2 hours before I have to wake up for a meeting. So I should be good.
Poor guy.
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. Stephen, before Lou ran away, you were going to say something to him?
Oh yeah. Sorry. I just want to say, like, I think you did such a great job of playing like a noble, like an entitled noble, in like such an understated way. Like you really got across that she was like arrogant about other people, and that she just sort of assumed that she had a certain place, and that she was like uncertain because she was young, but at the same time she had all this authority that she was just raised with. And it just like came across so well without you having to be like, oh yeah, she's a brat, that she really didn't care about other people that much, and that hierarchy and class were like a real thing for her. So I just think you played her like incredibly well, especially by the end. She had become such a like interesting, like really fleshed out character. That was cool to see.
Go with what you know, I guess. Just from personal experience, you know, nobility and whatnot.
No, but I mean, honestly, I think that makes it even more impressive because, you know, yeah, playing someone who's just born into that can't be easy. So good job. I really enjoyed that.
Thanks, dude. It was nice to play through that, like those 4 sessions with such a you know, they have a really interesting relationship, and that was really nice. So do you want to say hi quickly, Rosie?
Hi.
Hi, Rosie.
We're just finishing up now.
I want to thank you all for. God damn, that's the cutest thing in the world. I want to thank you all for the like the collaborative tools, teamworky way that we did this together. Like, we did a lot of cool things. Like, we did the one-shot thing, and we had like the cold opens, and then like the credits things and stuff, and like the whole. I don't know, from like a structural perspective, from like the way we play the game perspective, we God damn it, Holmes. We I just thought we did cool stuff, and I'm really grateful that I had you guys here to do it with me.
Thank you for putting this together. That was insane. 4 sessions, each one of them just fulfilling in completely different ways, and also the way you paced them. Like, each one had its own unique pacing that felt right for it. That's pretty well done. Very well done.
And I think, you know, like you are very vulnerable and honest about your concerns around pressure, but you're also, you know, like and trying to stick this landing for the last episode, and, you know, wanting to try things that were not vetted. And so, you know, that's always you know, it's risky, right? And yeah, I really appreciate that you did all that. I mean, I think, you know, we, you know, and part of it is we were all open to that stuff. But yeah, kudos, Sid. This was the fucking bomb. Like, you know,
Yes,
good stuff, man.
Sid. You're so amazing.
Thank you.
I can't believe, like, last game you were like so sick, but you are so sick. Like, every game you just come out and just very subtly just lay a couple of hints and direct us where we need to go, and it
Makes me sick.
makes you sick how good Sid is.
It was another sick joke.
Uh,
But it also does make me nauseous. How good you are at it.
Thank you. That's super kind. I'm the fact that I was able to do subtle stuff was because all of you drove very or played very driven characters, not obsessive. I think some people get this thing in their head where they're like, oh, I need to play a character who has a goal, so therefore every time I open my mouth, I've got to be talking about the goal. And so, like, Lady Blackbird, we're in this quiet scene. No, we're not allowed to be in a quiet scene. We have to be going towards your eye. Like, next thing. But you guys really, I think, walked that line between characters that can breathe and have space and be not aimless, but take a moment, and characters that are driven and have goals and wants. And it was really cool to see that. And that Oh, sorry, Stephen, go.
I was going to say, I think what made it interesting for me and what you played into was that every character seemed to have like a really good question. Like, it wasn't that they had a goal. It was that we all wanted to see, like, is, you know, what's Cyrus going to do? Is Cyrus going to be the captain or not going to be the captain? And, you know, is Snargle going to basically, like, how's Snargle going to run the ship? Like, where's Snargle from? Like, every character had like such a really cool, compelling question, and you let us all play with that. And that was, to me, like, more interesting than all of us just having goals, I guess.
Another thing that was cool for me was the scene of yours, Ari, that I was able to bounce off like I kind of thought you were going somewhere else, and then I was like, oh my god, how can I like make this like? And I was happy with myself too that I'm like I managed to still like have what you had put out there, and like adding that future like scene in for me made it all super satisfying in terms of the Uriah Flint stuff. In terms of I didn't need to finish anything really because there was some sort of future point that things were going to happen at. But yeah, it was really fun to bounce up. Like I was even almost at the edge of asking you permission to like change what you had said because I was so excited about it. Then I was happy that I was able to like grab that and still preserve what you had created. That was like a really nice moment for me.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone was so generous with each other, giving each other the space to do their thing, and also asking questions and playing off of that. I think that helped a lot with everybody's arcs.
I think that's.
Oh, go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
I was just going to say that word is generous. Like I find that so useful in describing. I mean, a lot of the Gauntlet games in general, like and the kind of people that I've been running into playing these games, and you know, like and I'll find some of those people out there, like at cons or certain cons, like more than others. But yeah, like consistently with Gauntlet games, I've just been running into that a lot. And that's the one word I used just when I was talking to my partner about like this community, and I was specifically talking about like the ASPAC crew, right? You know, that was the word that came up, and you know, like yeah, I feel that strongly.
I was going to give props to Sid for I didn't know. Hang on, train. I didn't know how it would go with the Uriah Flint thing, with all of us like playing Uriah during the makeout scene at the beginning, but that was such a brilliant idea because it let all of us give a little input into like one of the central NPCs of the game, and it gave everyone like more buy-in on Uriah than if it was just a romance with him and Lady Blackbird. I just thought that was a really like cool, creative, like outside the box kind of thing to do. I thought that was really, really brilliant. And a lot like all the oneers and every opening that you did just set the tone so well. They were all so creative. Like all that stuff I have never seen before, even on the Gauntlet. And like all of it just really made like an amazing experience. That was really creative.
So all of that stuff I haven't seen before either. So thank you very much for saying that. That's really, really kind. And I'm really glad that some of them worked. And a lot of them are like procedures I'd like to nut out a little bit better. And I'd like to get one as to be something that people could do and have language and stuff. That'd be wonderful.
Had you been pre-planning that shared character thing for the makeout thing, or did you just jump in there with that?
We did a thing like that before where we were playing Apocalypse World, and our gunlugger had like a dark passenger, like a sort of dual personality thing they carried with them, and we were like, cool. So you know, eventually they split, and we were like, oh, let's go back to like the first time you met, and we basically played around with like that idea, and it never worked, it never gelled, and I threw it out. I was like, I'm never going to try this again. Because it doesn't work, because people either overstep creative bounds or they understep, and it doesn't, and people aren't interested, and they want things to go in different ways. And then I thought someone was talking about what the rules say about Uriah, and there's just so little of it that none of it was planned. The Oners thing wasn't planned. That one wasn't. I just kind of sit down. I don't do a lot of prep. The most prep I do is we do wishes. I write down let's bring this up. So we do wishes, and I write down like, where's my Zoom functionality? There we go. What people say they want, and then I look at those, and I'm like, oh, this looks like a fun scene we could do. You know, this would be. So for this one, we kind of didn't hit any of them because there was not much, but like for the second one, you can see that we wanted, you know, the pacing to combine. We wanted a Naomi and Kale scene in the present. The moment the crew turns to mutiny, and we like built on all those, and that was just based on the wishes that you guys said, and that's the closest I get to actually preparing anything.
Yeah, it worked really nicely, that scene. It was, and I think it worked as well because of the anticipation of waiting like so long to have the scene. And then we all got to kind of do it together. And it was slightly like voyeuristic / like orgiastic first kiss scene with everybody like playing a part of it. That
Totally.
was kind of fun.
And somewhat like I loved Ellen's reaction to that particular like as soon as he said orgiastic, like but yeah, and that scene definitely
it's platonic orgiastic scene, first kiss scene.
But yeah, Sid, the way you you know, had everybody play, and it wasn't like you knew when like how much to do in a sense, right? Like we didn't overplay that scene, right? We just each had our chance to inject a piece of that personality, and then we just kind of like that's it, right? That was enough, and it was enough to like leave open spaces. But it answered so many questions, so we all got to participate in creating what that looks like, and it did feel like that. Like I was thrown in first, right? So I was like, okay, you know, I'm going to do this thing, and then, but as soon as it was over and the rest of you were doing it, it was very voyeuristic. I felt like we were all like what's, you know, like what's going on, and I want to see what happens next.
Because it definitely meant everyone was super engaged in it. I think even though I was a character in it for the whole thing, I could kind of tell that everybody was like right in there. So that was pretty funny.
And that's the goal, is that I wanted to have a small scene that explored one character, but I didn't want it to be Lou and I playing off each other for 10 minutes while the rest of you watch.
Yeah, I don't normally make out in games either, so I was trying to like challenge myself. Not that I really did make out, it was like everything led up to that exact moment, and then I'm like, okay, and we fade to black. Well, I think a lot of the best like sex scenes in movies are the lead up to the sex scene, right? They're not like actually the sex scene itself, because it's better off at like leaving that to everyone's imagination. I don't know. Yeah, it's just all the foreplay and then none of the actual like sex scenes.
The goods. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I want to say that I'm off for a month, so I'm not going to be playing any Gauntlet games for a month. But after that, more than welcome to play with any of you at any time, especially you, Terms.
You said.
You're so mean to me today.
Anytime.
I should do something during the day so I can like play with Terms during.
Hours.
Yeah.
We should play Lady Blackbird 2. Have you seen there's like a fan thing?
Yeah. I have thoughts.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't grab it like whole cloth, but it looks interesting.
Skurlock. I've actually been thinking about Skurlock or Magdalor.
Yeah, that Skurlock one looks good.
I've been more into that too, personally.
Have you taken a look at Skurlock, Stephen?
Yeah, and it looks like it would suit the style of play that we had here really well, because you know it's got all the items and you're doing a lot of flashbacks that explore history and stuff. It really looks more like the style of play that we had here than Lady Blackbird, which is like all maybe written to be more like in the present all the time, and we just played it with a lot of flashbacks and a lot of playing with time. So yeah, I think it would work really well. I wish there was a little bit more character diversity in that game with the playbooks, but you know, I think this probably doesn't look like it has a lot of character diversity either until someone steps in and starts fleshing the character out. So
until Startle's an 85-year-old woman that knits everything.
Yeah. Like when I saw the Goblin character, I would not have been half that creative, I have to say. I did not see that coming, so good job.
That that's essentially me. I am a nana that knits. And trapped in a body of a 30-something-year-old. But
Maybe you need a
still.
spaceship.
Maybe I need what now?
A spaceship.
Yeah.
I could see you in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Go, Alan.
I was just going to say I'd leave the blinker on for way too long, too.
Nana. I agree with Ari in that I think that Snuggle's probably the hardest character to. Oh, they're not. None of them are easy because you can look at them and they can be so one note. You can just be the Naomi that goes around punching people, or you can like have depth like Steven did, and you can be the Goblin that just makes dumb jokes and gets like drives the crew into trouble, or you can have more depth, and it's super cool to see that from all of you. Actually, it started off with me praising Elle, but it turned into me praising everyone.
Yeah, I think the Goblin is the one that might be the easiest to fall into a caricature if you're not careful with it.
And Lady Blackbird, like to be the damsel in distress and not examine that or not play off that would be a disservice to the character and to that like type of protagonist, I guess. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add before we let Tomes? I think he's fallen asleep already, actually. Oh no, he's up. Before we let Tomes go to sleep, so that he can dream of blackbirds and owls.
Thanks so much, everyone. I really loved that. It was awesome. And half of it happened while we were kind of moving house too. So it was still something that I was looking forward to, except for last week when we like pretty much forgot until it was like 5 minutes past when we were meant to play, and we're like, oh yes! And we had to run in and we're like, hey everyone, we totally remembered, here we are.
Okay, so for Hangouts backgrounds, just imagine some TARDIS signage, like kind of what's on here.
Ellen's going to make her door into a TARDIS to try and win this background competition we're having.
And does anyone notice like the Muppet that's behind?
Hey, that's my Muppet.
You want to talk about whose is what now?
Is that Ernie? That looks like Ernie.
It's kind of Ernie in drag. I call him Terrence. He's a tragic drag queen Muppet.
That's awesome.
Okay, time to go off. Ellen's got a Muppet. Bye, everyone.
Love you, Sid.
Thank you, all of you. I'll speak to you.
God.
See you, Rich.
Yeah. Awesome.